Hello, and welcome back to the Joyfully Free Journey podcast. I'm your host, Lacey Reeves, and today's conversation is all about purpose, passion, the different ways that purpose shows up in our journey, and how to navigate that, all the while bouncing back from different seasons of burnout. Today's podcast guest is Elizabeth Chevalier. She is a strategic advisor to CEOs as well as executive leadership teams. She has over 20 years experience, and in her practice, she combines brain and body neuroscience to inform her work by providing measurable outcomes to organizations across multiple industries. I took away a lot from today's conversation, even some keys on how neuroscience informs how we show up as leaders in the workplace. No matter your level of leadership, whether you are a C-suite leader, a middle manager, a manager, or even administrator, we can apply the principles from today's conversation to wherever we are in life. And I hope that you are encouraged and you take away some actionable steps from this conversation. Without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Elizabeth. This is the Joyfully Free Journey podcast. Let's get started.
Hands reached up for heaven's gleam, chasing my godly dream. Mirror shoulder.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Joyfully Free Journey podcast. I'm Lacey, your host, and today is going to be a conversation that you are going to enjoy, and I have been looking forward to for quite some time. Today's guest is Elizabeth Chevalier. She is a C-suite leader. She has been in her industry over 20 years, and outside of what she does to empower leaders at an executive level, she is a mom. She's a devoted friend and someone I have looked up to for many years from afar. I'm so pleased to have her today on the podcast. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I was just giddy with excitement this morning. So I'm glad that you're here
Oh,
today.
I'm delighted. Thank you so much for offering. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. I think when we initially spoke, I was sharing with you about the podcast and how one of the things that I've been really leaning into currently is the idea of cultivating joy, no matter what is going on in life. And so
Yes.
with it being the Joyfully Free Journey and understanding that joy is a journey, I would love to get your perspective on joy, leadership, and all the things today. So I'm glad that you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts of what makes Elizabeth, I like to start at the most basic level. Outside of what you do, the roles that you fulfill, who is Elizabeth? What is either one thing, one place, or one person that brings you joy?
Well, I think at the core of who Elizabeth is, I've always had a natural interest in people and what makes them tick, what gives them frustration or sadness, but also what brings them joy.
Wow.
Always. Since I think the first time I remember having this sense or this curiosity was around the age of 10. And I remember sitting in church. I grew up a Catholic, and I remember sitting in church one day about 9 or 10, and I looked around at all the people and I started praying for them. And you don't do this in Catholic church. You just go to church, kneel, sit, and stand. And I just remember recognizing that people were there because God, they're sad. Some of them are sad. Some of them are afraid. Some of them are happy. Some of them are sick. Why? And how do they get better? So I've always had a natural interest in that. And it just morphed into, over the years, a natural interest in what give people well-being at work. Because I've seen with my history that work can bring you great sadness or joy because that's where we spend most of our working time.
Good.
That's where we have the most attention of most people on any given day. Think about that. You spend far less hours with your family members, in church, and everywhere else. So you literally have the captivation of a person more at work than you do any other place in their life. And why can't we start inspiring from that place? So that's a little bit about me. What brings me joy is over the years, the work that I've done, when I'm sitting with somebody and they have that aha moment, but also that self-aware moment that they realize the life they have is because of themselves. They created it. They chose it based on the way they think, the way they talk, and the way they act, good or bad. And when they recognize that, they then recognize they have the power to create the life they want. And when they have that aha moment, it's priceless.
Well, you have dove right in. You're speaking my language on so many levels. Just the keen awareness of where people are, and what they might be going through. That's a high level of empathy, and I definitely think that that's a skill and an innate ability, but also a skill that a lot of people struggle with cultivating.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was just talking to somebody yesterday about empathy, and they said to me, well, empathy is not something you can learn. I said, no, yes, you can. Absolutely. People think that you're either empathetic or you're not. People learn kindness you can learn. Think about it. If you grew up in an environment where nobody's kind to each other and everybody's out for themselves and there's fighting and yelling and abuse, you don't know what kindness is. But then when you get put into an environment where you see what kindness is and you see other people doing it and you begin to do it, you feel a certain way and you feel good and you want to show more kindness. So it's the same way with empathy. But here's the thing with empathy. Empathy starts with empathy toward yourself first, because you can't give what's not in your storehouse. So that's where we start. I'm not going to get ahead of myself.
No, I love that. And that is how I feel exactly about joy.
Yes.
How can you bring joy to others unless you first have that within yourself? That's beautiful. You mentioned in the introduction that you were a young girl, recognizing the needs of people around you. Did that inform what you ended up doing professionally?
Yeah. So I think a little bit about, oftentimes people ask, how did you get to where you are? And one thing I do know, because before I became an executive coach and a consultant, I actually got certified as a career coach.
Okay.
So, and I was interested in helping just women. However, I help more men than women because of the nature of my business. But one of the things that was about that was helping people to understand what they were passionate about and discover their purpose. And our purpose in life generally is formulated from the womb forward. So oftentimes it comes from the experiences that we had as a child, what we saw, so whether they were good or bad. But most of the time, most purposes or careers come from the pains that people have experienced, and they're trying to make a difference, whether that pain or challenge was for themselves or for other people. Doctors, attorneys, therapists, coaches, teachers, whatever, oftentimes they will. So I grew up it was a struggle. I grew up in a low-income home that was filtered with a great deal of abuse and alcoholism, 6 children, middle child. And as the middle child, you're probably familiar with the order of birth. So the middle child usually is the invisible one. So I learned pretty quickly to be selectively quiet and observe. And so I began to see patterns. And from that, and I also had to learn to fend for myself. So from that, I began to develop a level of strategic thinking about where I was and what I had to do to move forward. But then I took that later, because of the difficulties I had with abuse, etc. I have more of a compassion for people. So as I grew into my interest of area for college, I majored in psychology. And I did that because I want to figure out what was wrong with me. Why am I so sad? Why am I always angry? Why am I getting into arguments or fights a lot? Why do I feel so gloomy? How can I turn this around? And I knew at a young age I would do that. I just didn't know how. And psychology was the first step for me. And then from that, I just bounced off of that and landed where I am now, helping people I help people to navigate the workplace with greater calm and ease and confidence so they can do what they're called to do.
That's beautiful, because the piece that you mentioned about purpose being informed by, maybe adverse situations or even your upbringing.
Yes.
Good, bad, indifferent. That's so interesting. Some people have mentioned to me on multiple occasions in the ministry work that I do, I just want to find my purpose. I want to find my purpose. And for a while, that was me as well. But I also recognize that sometimes purpose unfolds.
That's right.
It will continue. It's not maybe one thing. It could be one thing right now,
That's
but
right.
it can be ever evolving. Have you seen purpose unfold in your life as it pertains to the work that you do, and even how you show up to the world?
Yeah, and I say to people, your purpose, you really don't lose the purpose itself. So for me, my purpose is to help people in life, personally and professional, move through this life with a greater sense of love for themselves and ease and purposeful so they can do what they love and serve. But the mode in which you do that may change.
I love that.
Okay, so it's the mode. So if I really want to help people, I started out before as a career coach. I wanted to help people find the career they love. And I would watch people within 6 months. I've seen a lot of people age 5 years. People with illnesses, depression, suicide. I've seen all of it. I want to help people navigate their careers better. So that was the first mode. Then I said, I want to help women. That was another mode. Then it was, well, I'm going to speak about it. And so I was on the speaking circuit for many years. And then someone called me one day and said, I have a client that needs somebody to offer recruitment training. I moved to Germany with my husband's career for about 2 years, got a call, and I started some training at UNC, and I ended up staying there for 6 years as an adjunct professor. Then go figure. Go figure. I didn't want to go back to corporate America.
Okay.
Then when I came back and settled, then one day I got a call about 6 years into working at Charlotte. Someone wanted some training for their logistics team because they weren't getting along. And I thought, well, I've never done training for leadership, but I know people. This is another thing about finding joy along the way and finding your way. Always surround yourself with people that know more than you and can show you and teach you. Doesn't matter if you're the big boss, leader, or owner, always surround yourself. So I thought, well, I know people that have retired that are seasoned leadership trainers. I hired them, and that started my practice. And 22 years later, and here we are. And so now my mode was working for years with baseline supervisors to middle managers. And now the mode that I serve now is working with top leaders in the organizations, because now I get to impact from here so things trickle down. So the mode changes, but your purpose never really does. Because when God creates you, he knows exactly the plan he has, and he puts that seed in you. And it's just, how am I going to serve now at this season, Lord?
And I love that, because there can be so much frustration around the mode.
That's right.
Because the mode may be this right now, but I want the mode to be this.
That's right.
Because I would just say for myself, I'm a high achiever.
I know. I
Understanding, getting the podcast set. Elizabeth said, it's okay. I said, no, it needs to be perfect.
It's all good. It's all good.
Well, that's why I'm hopefully surrounding myself with people who have more experience and more insight into things that I can glean from. But just going back to the mode, just the idea of being agile. I feel like that's a word I heard a lot in my upbringing and leadership development.
It's critical.
Why is that? Do you mind sharing? I know that's not really what we intended to talk about.
Well, I talk about these things a lot over the 20 years of training. Agility is critical. What agility is saying is I can be flexible. I can move with what is necessary. I take in what's around me, and I can change or modify and adapt so that I can do the best I need to do in that moment. And agility is critical, of course, in business and in leadership, because that helps to maintain momentum. And in any business or endeavor, momentum is critical. You know that with your podcast. We were talking about it before we got on. If you just do 4 or 5 podcasts a year, you're not getting any momentum, right? But keeping up and maintaining a certain pace and then being ready to switch up when you need to is absolutely critical. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I would love to go back to the topic of burnout, because when I was doing my research and looking at your website, which is gorgeous, by the way, it is absolutely stunning. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You want the workplace to be a healthy workplace, so that they have joy in the workplace.
Yes. When a person comes to work, the whole person comes.
Okay, got it.
Your body, your mind, and your soul comes. And if we're spending the most of our time at work, work should be feeding us, not draining us. We should be energized by the work we're doing, not draining. So I help organizations to create an environment that is more stimulating, but not always stimulating, like pushing up your cortisol, your energy, but more stimulating that's balanced with bouts of energetic endeavors, but also giving people the space to step back, to relax, to take breaks, to think, to appreciate, to value, so that people go to work and they feel more stimulated or energized and not drained. When you're in a culture that is constantly pushing, or criticizing or belittling, or there's silos and there's conflict constantly, people are drained and exhausted. And then they can't make the best decisions for the organization. They can't build the relationships that they need. And when people are not calm and able to modulate their emotions, they can't think at their best. They can't innovate. They can't be agile. So agility, by the way, when we're under stress, the brain will do three things. It will fight, flee, or freeze. You know that. Something scares you, somebody might jump back at the door, the other person freezes, the person runs away. And this is the same thing that can happen at work when we're under stress.
Have you experienced that in your professional journey, any work environment or a season of your life where you experienced burnout?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Would you care to share about your experience?
Well, I'll tell you, my first job out of college, I had extreme burnout. I graduated from Florida State in Tallahassee.
Okay.
Didn't start there. Let me make that clear. Don't be that impressed.
Okay.
Well, I
That's
started
cool.
Yeah, because in high school.
Seminoles?
Yeah, how about
Okay.
them Knowles?
All right.
Bobby Bowden was the head of the football then. I started out at a small Christian college in West Palm Beach, got my grades up, and then finished at Florida State.
Right.
Yeah. And anyway, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
It was about burnout.
Oh,
that you
burnout.
had
Okay.
experienced.
So I was working for a security company at the time, and this is another thing I want to say to young people that are up and coming in their career. You got to work hard. You got to work sometimes long hours, and you got to work hard. So when I was working for this company, 3 different shifts while I was in college.
Oh, wow.
I had one. I had an 8 to 12, only 4-hour intervals, all in that week for about a year and a half. That was my schedule while going to school full time. But they hired me as operations manager. And I left Tallahassee and they moved me to West Palm. When I got down there, there was no training. I became operations manager of the monitoring station, which had 5 people I was responsible for, and everyone was older than me. And everyone was older than me by the minimum was 7 years, and the oldest guy was like 22 years older than me. Talk about that alone was enough. I worked 12 to 14 hours, 6 days a week, and I realized a lot about leadership, and I went down thinking I was all that and I was going to be this tough whatever. And I learned very quickly that leadership was not about command and control. It was about connection and balance. And I got burnt out really, really quickly. And I had to leave the company because there was a head bashing with the command and control leader and myself. But the main thing was I was absolutely burnt out. I had no life. And that was the first time I realized it. And then from that point forward, I tried to make it a point to balance, try to make it a point to maintain regular hours, have fun with friends, go to church, do fun things. But over the years, it still happens periodically. Having my own practice now for over 20 years, I've had some burnout. I recently just turned down a very major project with a major client that I've had for many, many years because it was becoming too much. And I'm in the midst of, I'm on a new path, henceforth the new website. Right. And by the way, the web developer was amazing. So I have to give a shout out to Derek. He is absolutely amazing. And so I'm on a different trajectory now, a different mode, and I'm having to say no. And because I want not to be burnt out so that I can do the work and enjoy the work that I do. So burnout, yeah, I was having that actually last month because I've had just one project over another, back to back over the last 8 weeks. And just recently, I said, okay, Elizabeth, step back, take a look at your life. Too much. This is not the direction. You've got to say no. And literally, I'm saying I said no 3 days ago to a major project. Burnout can come at any time and it can show its nasty head and you don't even know about it until it comes up. and you wake up one day and you're, oh my gosh, I'm on the verge of burnout. So you have to constantly manage that and watch it.
But that's good that you did. You were
Yes.
able to identify
Yes,
it. I think
yes.
that sometimes it can be very challenging. Burnout, I feel like it's a buzzword right now.
Mhm.
However, I think that it's been around. It's been around
Yeah.
longer than it's been a buzzword. And how
Yeah.
identifying it, I think that's the challenge, is recognize it. How did you recognize that that's where you were? You said
Yeah. Well,
did you feel a
first,
little dysregulated, or?
yeah. So first of all, I teach a lot about it.
Mhm.
You and I talked at the beginning about 5 years ago. So I'm going to tell you why I'm more aware, because it's an intentional decision every
Sure.
day. I've been coaching leaders from all over the world for
Mhm.
many, many years. Pre-COVID, my coaching conversation shifted from, okay, how do I manage my team better? How do I speak up in meetings? How do I do, move this person forward? It shifted from that to, I'm exhausted. I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. I blurted out and became very violent verbally in a meeting. I snapped at my people. I'm having marital problems. My teenager and I don't get along. People started shifting to the inner turmoil in these conversations. And these conversations began to shift toward, I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. I can't think straight. I'm not making good decisions. And then when COVID came, it just exasperated it. So I decided, I really think my work now needs to teach people a little bit more about the psychology of the human being and what that means to us. And if I could teach them that, then I could help them and get away with a lot of leadership models and help people to regulate inside, which if I feel better inside, I'm going to speak to people better. I'm going to have better relationships and make better decisions. So I went and got certified in something called the application of neuroscience. And that's the application of the brain and the body. And what that taught me was that your brain is busy being programmed by you at a subconscious level that's so powerful that how you act, think, and move about your day is happening in here because of what you're putting in it. But you have to then step back and become an observer and change the way you do things. So, which means I learned that I must periodically stop in the midst of my day, whether it's every 90 minutes. I have a concept called Mind the 90 minutes. So whether it's to step back, pray, meditate, whatever that is, and look at myself on a regular basis. That's how you get to be aware of if you're burning out, if you're overwhelmed. The practice of mindfulness, right? Are you familiar with this? The practice of being mindful of the moment, being mindful of yourself. And so mindfulness outside of prayer has been an absolutely powerful thing, because that means learning to sit still and be quiet. As God said, be still and know that I am God. And being still and mindful means being in the present moment. And when you're there, awareness comes. So how was I aware? Because I'm intentional about paying attention to Elizabeth now. If you sit, I say to people, I challenge people, tomorrow morning when you get up, don't look at your cell, don't check your schedule, don't put music on. If you want a cup of coffee or tea or whatever, do that and try to walk in silence for about 10 minutes when you get up and get whatever it is you need to do. Go to the bathroom and do your thing, get your cup of tea or coffee and go sit for 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. No agenda, nothing, no phone, and watch what happens. Your body will tell you how it's feeling. All of the thoughts and things that are going on inside will come to you, but you don't have to make any decisions, anything. Just sit in silence and you will begin to recognize. And you can simply ask the question to your body, what am I feeling right now? What is it that I need right now? And your body will tell you if you're tired, exhausted, sad. And then when you ask it ever so gently, what do I need? You need to back off, Elizabeth. You need to drop that. That's what God gives us, but we have to be quiet. Be still and know that I am God, because sometimes it comes in a whisper.
Personally, I'm sitting here.
I see you.
I am so much more regulated. Well, it's because the energy that you're bringing to the conversation is very calming, because what you just shared was that you cannot give what you do not have. And I can tell that you practice this.
Thank you.
Because even in our short time together today, there's an awareness, there's a settledness about you, there is, and dare I say, confidence in who you are, who Elizabeth is. Don't know how you're feeling inside, but that's what I'm receiving.
No, I feel all of those
Yeah.
things. Confidence is one. It took a long time to get there, a long, long time. But what I'm grateful for is that you feel that. And I talk about this and teach it, that in the workplace and as a leader and in finding joy, you really don't find it, you just live it. And it has nothing to do, it's a choice. It has nothing to do with the surroundings, the people, just that 10 minutes of sitting quietly. That's the first round. And then I say to people, all right, next week, go sit or be somewhere for 10 minutes and just look around you. So whether it's outside or in your house, and I want you to see if you can come up with 5 things you're grateful for. This is another one that's powerful. Through your neighborhood, take a walk in the morning and walk through your neighborhood and really look at the trees. If the wind is blowing, look how the trees kind of dance with one another. Watch the squirrels or the butterflies or the dogs or whatever. Just watch the world as it's just harmonizing like a big orchestra, just being just in total synchronization. The sun, where it peeks in, or the clouds, or the shapes of the cloud. When you really, I'm getting just, my heart is rushing now. When you really look at that, you see the magnificent beauty, and you can actually find joy in that moment. I'm feeling it now because I'm just recalling it.
For sure.
And so it's when we slow down and we quiet ourselves that we're able to see it. My wish every day, prayer has been, God, whoever comes into my presence, let it be a good time. Let it be a peaceful experience. So whether it's in my home or in my presence. So when you say that to me,
Aw. That's right. And when you were just sharing, that really reminds me of one of my biggest keys that I've had several rounds of therapy in just different moments where I've needed a little extra support. I am pro therapy. Pretty much pro a safe place, whatever that looks like. For me, it has been therapy. It has been coaching at times. It's been mentorship at times. Sometimes it's all three at once.
Yes.
Just whatever you're able to handle at that time.
Right.
But there was one practice that I am so grateful that I learned. And it was a mindfulness practice. It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you heard of that?
If you're talking about 5, you're probably talking about the 5 senses.
Yes. So
okay,
5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you touch. 2 things that you
feel. You said feel.
Did I say that? Yeah, feel.
Say.
Yes.
Say positive affirmations.
Exactly. And then the one thing that you smell, just to kind of ground you.
That's right.
And when I feel overwhelmed or anxious at times, I feel like that is what my walks do for me. Just walking in nature and being aware, like you're saying.
So I'm going to give you a little science. I told you earlier.
Please.
I'm put my little neuroscience.
I'm here for it. Yes.
So, and it's amazing because how God created us. Well, I'm just so happy that neuroscience has helped me to bring science and God together. And we're doing that better now. Carolyn Leaf does a great job of that in her book.
Amazing.
So what's happening, though, is everything that happens to us comes to us through the central nervous system and the 5 senses that you just discussed. And when it comes in, everything first comes into a center called the limbic system. That's the emotional center of the brain. And it comes in, it's in the back of the head. So obviously everything comes in through the central nervous system, the spine, and it's going to get there first. If you're thinking about a parking lot or geographical location, it's coming there first. So depending on the magnitude and the attention you give that moment, it will strengthen that emotion in your brain. So if you just focus on having a cup of coffee in the morning and you take it and you smell just the aroma, you ever did that and go, oh, this smells so good. It's stronger, isn't it? But if you're having a cup of coffee and you're talking to somebody and you try to answer email, you're just having your sip, you don't smell it. And so you don't smell it as well, do you? No, because in the present moment, mindfulness, one thing at a time, your brain will take it in and it just hones in, it makes it much stronger. And therefore, taking any of those 5 senses and just one at a time will magnify the experience. So when you do that and it comes into the limbic system, the information then travels to the front of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. We call that the executive functioning. That's where you can reason, deduce, make decisions, all of that. And then you're able to better when you take it and allow it to park here and you sit with one thing, then it's able to move to the front of the brain, which takes about 10 to 20 seconds, move to the front of the brain, and then you can move through your day or their experience with more intention, which brings peace.
I'm taking that, and that can apply to so many different things.
Yes.
That can apply to our relationship.
Exactly.
Being present in our
Yes.
relationships.
Yes.
It can apply to the work world, this
Yes.
fast-paced, nonstop.
Oh.
Now I can see why it's easy to get overwhelmed with social media
Yes.
and instant information. It's
Yes.
very overwhelming.
And I will tell you this, Lacey, at your age and your generation, this millennial and Generation Z and Y, they weren't talking about burnout. We were not talking about burnout in our 20s and 30s.
Right.
But it's very different now. I was just, for example, confidence. A young lady can feel have low self-esteem easily when you're a young person or teenager. But it wasn't as bad when I was growing up because I only had to look at myself, and we compare ourselves when we're young. Let's think about that for a minute.
Sure.
And I only had to compare myself with about 5 or 6 girls in the neighborhood because that's all I saw. Now you guys have 50,000.
Our neighborhood is
100,000.
the internet.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I could see that girl who looked very pretty or whatever, but then she opens her mouth and she talks with disrespect, or she's mean, or she can't formulate a sentence. She was just human. And I could also begin to see the vulnerable side of her and actually formulate some kind of a relationship or mutual respect. All that's seen on the internet in many of these cases where young ladies are comparing themselves is superficial perfection. Who can compete with that? So then when you have that and all the other stimulation, so think about it. I don't feel good about myself. Look at me next to her. Then you have this other information that says, oh, if you do these 3 things in the morning, and you have all this information coming to you, and at work, they're expecting this generation to do more with less. Everything is quick yesterday. You guys are extraordinarily overwhelmed, and your brain was not created for that. Your brain cannot handle all of this information at this level and this capacity. And so overload comes, and then you get under stress. And what happens? People flee, they fight, or they freeze. And this is what you see. And then there's immobility or bickering, or what's the newest thing now? People are ghosting families. So I think burnout today is huge because society and technology is putting it there on us. And it's your generation, and my daughter, Monique, who's 25, her generation is going to have to change that because this is not working and it's not going to work. And people are imploding. People are imploding at all levels of the organization, in the community. And many people are shutting down, and they're just working off of their laptops and not wanting to go out and do things and enjoy one another and all of those things that help balance our stress levels. And so burnout is huge. But I challenge people to, nobody has control over your telephone or your scrolling. Just us talking about it is a good start. Or having a girlfriend, we say, I'm not going to be on my phone today. We're taking a walk.
Yeah.
Or we're going to a movie. We're going to have a dinner.
Yes. I find I've shared my story several times on the podcast, so I won't belabor the point, but I do find right now in this moment of my personal journey, I'm in a season of bouncing back from the burnout experience. And it sounds like you've maybe had a few and you've bounced back. There's hope. You've encountered it a few times and you bounced back. And I would say for me, and I would love to hear your thoughts as well, I have found myself being more intentional to spend time, intentional times with those relationships that bring me energy. But we can't put work to the side because that is a part of our lifestyle. It's our well-being. So one thing that I've implemented in my regular work day is taking a break and taking a walk around the campus, the church campus where I am. And my question for you would be, in your times of bouncing back, were there additional things that you found worked for you that you apply, or for a leader that you're coaching and they're experiencing burnout? What advice do you have for them and how they can take that back?
So when I was getting certified in the application of neuroscience, we were introduced to this concept called the body budget.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to share it with you because you can then share it with your followers if you have a download application. And the body budget is a list of aspects on how we live. Everything from eating to sleeping to socialization, digestion, stress. I added loneliness on there because it's a big one. And loneliness depletes us. It depletes us in terms of health and neurologically. Won't go into that too much yet. And so when I did the body budget on myself, I realized, I was doing pretty good, but there were some areas of deficit. So I built a program around the application of neuroscience called Better Wellbeing. We've henceforth changed it to the Aligned Leader. We take people in a room for 3 to 4 days or in a training, and we create 2 training rooms. You've been through training, yes? So there's one room where you get training and you're learning and the theoretical and experiences. But then I created something called the Zen room. So if we're at a hotel, we take 2 rooms, and then one, we transform it into a Zen room with candles and incense, and everybody gets a mat and a blanket and a block, and we have soft music, and we have sceneries of the mountains, these big drapes that we put in there with the mountains, and the lights are down low, and people walk in, and you've got these big burly guys, and men out on the lawn, with assembly or welding, right? And there's those kind of guys, right? And they walk into the room and they go, "What is this?" Or you get these, these international engineers, and they're so smart, and they're in, and these guys don't go on the sensing feeling side. What is this, Elizabeth? And you get, some of the Germans, what is this? What are we going to do? Mats? Do you want me to lay down on the mat? Well, by the time we give them this experience, sometimes people are falling asleep in there. We've got them snoring, some are talking in their sleep. But anyway, this is one way. Delivering this program has been transformative. So that's one. And we start there. And during that 4 days, we're teaching people simple techniques that take 10 seconds to 15 minutes. So when I'm coaching leaders, yes, generally now, my coaching, I have them fill out a body budget, and they have to track all of this for 7 days. So it's something that you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, I believe, and you're tracking this, and we get to see the trend, and we identify where you're doing well and where your loophole is, and there we begin to make adjustments. So some of the baseline things that I talk to everybody about is never eat lunch at your desk.
That is so good.
You can't digest properly when you're reading and you're doing other stuff, because when you're in a stress state, when you're looking at an email, you are producing cortisol or adrenaline. That's a stress hormone, and it is designed to do only a few things. And to give you energy, but it's going to shut down the rest of the body. It's like if I say to all my soldiers inside my body, I need all of you now. We've got something we've got to do. Come on, let's charge. They're going to drop everything else they're doing. So all of the other functions in the body, they're going to drop. They're going to forge forward just for that. Right. That's what happens when you get energy. Let's say you're tired, but you had to get ready for something like this podcast. You'd let everything else go and you put your energy to it, and you're amazed because you can get it done. Well, that's your cortisol rushing up, but everything else shuts down. So when you eat at your desk, your body is not able to digest properly and produce what it needs to produce because you shut those centers down by eating. Yes, it's on that. And cortisol is good for short bursts of time. Adrenaline and cortisol is what's get us going. Is where mommy lifts the car if her child is crushed or something. How father can leap across a room when they see their child about to go in traffic, right? And you go, "How did you do that?" Well, that was a rush of cortisol and whatever, adrenaline to get you there. So learning little things, this is why mindfulness is very, very powerful. So not eating lunch at your desk. I have another concept. I say mime the 90 minutes. I keep a timer at mine. Minutes is ideal, but every 90 minutes, walk away from your laptop. Walk away. I don't care if you have to just shut it down or walk away or look at a photograph or go get a cup of coffee or tea or just sit for 2 to 3 minutes. Take a couple deep breaths. These are things that actually, when you understand how the brain works on the back end, giving yourself a 30 to 60 second breath work can do absolutely phenomenal stuff to your body if you do that throughout the day. 2 to 3, 4 times a day. Yes. So these are the type of things we talk about. I also ask people, I have them walk me through when I'm coaching them, a day in the life. And so, oftentimes they'll start at work. I said, no, I want a day in the life from the moment you open your eyes in your bed and you go tinkle. Now, we all got to do it, so it is what it is. I don't need to know details, but I want to know when you wake up, what do you do? And when they come back to me and they denote, I wake up and I roll over and I open my laptop or I look at my phone and then I go and then I have coffee and I'm looking at my schedule for the day while I'm having coffee or eating, we stop there. And then when they talk about when they get to work and what they do, and when they come home and they're back on their laptop after dinner or whatever, and then they begin to realize why they are like this.
So tense.
Yes.
Wow.
So these are just some of the things, understanding what they're doing on a daily basis, moment by moment. It's a little painful for them, but when we look at the trend, it's eye-opening. And they have this is when I get that question you asked me earlier, what gives me joy, when they have that hormone go, oh my God, no wonder I'm exhausted. No wonder I can't think. Look at what I'm doing. I'm not. And then when they understand the brain and the body and what it does and how you're feeding it or depleting it, then that's a moment where they begin to make small shifts. And I say to people, small shifts can be absolutely powerful. Just taking 2 minutes every 90 minutes can be phenomenal to the body. Yeah.
And I find that when what you're saying to me translates to being kind to yourself.
There you go.
Just that self-kindness. You're
Yes.
mentioning having joy within,
Yes.
having a settledness within, and that allows us to lead in a more gracious way, or like more of a full-bodied leadership method instead of maybe task-oriented approach to life.
Yeah. So, Lacey, what I've found is why people struggle with doing these things. Most people know, just like we all have a conscience, we kind of know what's right and wrong. We know that we're not eating healthy, we're not sleeping well, we're working too hard. And those are behavioral changes. But what really moves the behavioral forward is the processing in here and the heart. And when we start to love ourselves, we only come from 2 places of thinking, love or fear. And so that means love for ourselves or love for people, fear for ourselves or fear with people. And when I say love for people, love for ourselves, do I respect myself? Do I honor myself? Do I believe in myself? Do I give myself grace? Am I kind to myself? When I make a mistake, do I beat myself up and do self-negative talk versus I give myself grace, I recognize the problem, and I come up with a solution and I move on, right? Or do I have the other way? So the first place to start is to see yourself through the eyes, and I say for me, through the eyes of God. If I really love myself and I begin to appreciate myself, I'm going to do things differently. I have a creed, Elizabeth's creed. So my daughter Monique said she's 5 years old. She knows this. And right now, if you were to meet her anywhere on the street and you say, tell me what your mom says about that love yourself, and she'll recite it like the back of her hand. And it is love yourself first, love yourself the most, then you have enough to share and you can afford to lose some. Now, what do I mean by that? And especially in the Christian community, I'm not saying love yourself above God. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And if I believe that God is in me and he loves me and he put me here and he has a purpose for me, then I am receiving my love for myself through his love.
That's beautiful. Sorry, keep going.
No, and yeah, I wanted that to
beautiful.
resonate, because when we first said it, I had a few people, well, that sounds selfish. No, it's not selfish. It's actually agape love, that we are loving ourselves. I'm getting goosebumps now because I know that he blessed me with this. I know that he supports this mode of thinking. So if I accept that God is in me and God is with me and he loves me endlessly, and I recognize that and I pull from that love, I have to love myself. How can I not love myself when I pull it from there? And if you love someone, so let's come outside of ourselves. If you really love someone, your husband, Lamar, you love him. You want the best for him. If he makes a mistake, you're not going to shoot him down and say bad things to him.
Right.
Well, not all the time. You know how marriage is sometimes. You may slip up when you're exhausted and then you say, I'm sorry, Lamar.
Yes,
I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean to say that. I'm just anxious. Right. But for the most part, your intention is to build up your husband.
Correct.
To encourage him. So we don't do that with ourselves. So when we come to love ourselves, we're not going to beat ourselves up anymore. And when we talk positively to ourselves and we see the good, then we're going to do better for ourselves. But the reason oftentimes we don't eat healthy or sleep better is because we're not valuing ourselves the same way we value other people. I say to a mother with children, are you going to let your child eat all that candy all day and then stay up till, 12 o'clock and then have to get up at 6 a.m.? No, I'm not going to do it. Then why would you do it for yourself? Because I love him and I'm taking care of him. That's what you should be doing with yourself first. And so therefore, behavioral shift has to change from the inside out. So it's doing the work. And oftentimes there's a lot of roots that go to why we don't like ourselves, or we may say, well, I love myself, I do, but you go and you sabotage yourself, or criticizing people all the time. Do I love myself? No. Because when you criticize people, we have a concept called the shadow, right? Or the mirror. When you criticize people, in more cases than not, I'm actually criticizing myself while I'm complaining. Show me a person that respects themselves, loves themselves, gives themselves grace. You're not going to see a person slamming another person or criticizing them. Show me a person that grew up with condemnation, criticizing, and they start to criticize themselves and they're hard on themselves and they beat themselves up for the slightest mistake. You're going to see them in one way or another demonstrating that toward another person.
Wow.
You only give what's in your storehouse. So when you love yourself first and you love yourself most, you can afford to share it, and you can afford to lose because lose it because it's a constant reservoir. If you came to my storehouse and said, I want apples, and I have apples, meaning kindness, love, grace, I can give it to you. But if you come to my storehouse and you want apples and I have rotten lemons, condemnation, fear, rejection, beating myself up, I can't give you apples because I don't have it. I can't give you kindness because I don't have it for myself. I will only do it manipulatively to get what I want. Now that's manipulation, but I can't sustain it. You can't give what you don't have. You could fake it, but people will feel it and sense it. And I know you know that because you've been around people who've been acting kind or whatever, but you can sense. Can you sense sometimes when it's an ulterior?
Correct.
By the way, we all have about a 3 yards meter of electrical energy all around us, because everything is electrical energy that emits around us, that people can feel it. This is how God created us. So that's why you're feeling me, right? You said you felt me earlier, because that's because of that electrical energy that I emit. If I was in here acting nice to you, but inside I hate myself, I condemn myself, I beat myself up before I got in here, I shot myself because I don't like the way this looks and that, and I come in here and I want to look good for you. You're not going to feel it because I can't hide that. And that's what you pick up on. I can't hide it. This is why dogs, animals, and children, I say, show me a child and a dog around a person, and I'll be able to quickly tell you a little bit about that person just by observing that child or dog. Why? Because they don't have the language and the intellect to mask or to do anything else. They have to go by this. That's all they have.
Woo! I'm speechless because what you shared clearly comes from a place of authenticity and lived experience as well. And and the second reason why I'm speechless is because I think what you've shared has given me an additional vocabulary around what I'm already experiencing with people or in environments. Because that's, sometimes people will say, oh, that's a toxic environment. I don't know if it's a toxic environment. It might just be people are going through things in this environment and they have not dealt with them. And so I am grateful, so grateful to walk away from this conversation with more language.
Good.
More language to express what's going on, or even just things to be aware of in my own life.
Well, the brain is so complicated and so phenomenal and magnanimous. And we're just starting. I mean, neuroscientists, I say just starting, but we're just starting to really peel back its potential. It's unbelievable. What is happening. And I put it like this with people. If you can think of 200 to 400 billion people or soldiers that's on your team working fervently every day, every second for you, that's your brain cells. Brain processes about 200 to 400 billion bits of information per second. This is subconscious. This is from all the things that you have taken in over life. This is even from your ancestors as far back as 3 to 4 generations back. All of this is in there. But you can only process consciously about 50 to 80 bits of information. Only 50 to 80 versus 200 billion bits to 400 billion bits of information. I say to people, and you will never be able to penetrate any of that consciously. So I say to people, where does it come from? It comes from other senses in the body.
Mhm.
And here's a major place. Do you know the smartest organ in the body is your heart?
Really?
Yes, because and your heart takes in so much information, and the electrical magnitude of your heart outnumbers the brain significantly. I won't give you numbers, but I will tell you this, that magnetic force around you is about 5,000 times more powerful than what you can interpret consciously in your brain. 5,000 more times more knowledge and insight. So when you can understand that your brain is working behind the scenes and you walk into a room or an environment or you meet a person and you feel relaxed with that person versus stressed with that person, or you start to pay attention to yourself and you just listen to your body and you listen to your heart, you will be able to, when you're intentional and you're paying attention and you love yourself, you will want to do those things that are just the smallest, most simplest thing, because you will understand that you got 400 billion soldiers back here that's going to carry it. So a 30-second deep breath work is going to impact those soldiers back there for you. And it will just change the trajectory of how you move throughout the day. And so I say to people, if you're under stress or you're burnt out, take the absolute smallest, most ridiculous step first and just let that do its work and trust the process, such as no more eating at your desk or at your workstation. Whether you're selling clothes, shoes, working on the line, changing tires, no more of that. The second is take a break, even if you only take a mental break and you can't get up from your computer, just take a mental break for 30 seconds. Take a couple of deep breaths 5 or 6 times throughout the day and watch what happens to your life. Just the smallest, the most ridiculous and the smallest begins the journey of creating a new habit. And we don't have enough time. Maybe I can come back and we'll talk about habit formation and how that works in the brain, because it's pretty powerful how you can move forward when you understand how the brain works.
Well, yes,
I'm
to
not gonna
that.
bore you
I
with
would
all
love,
that.
there is no boredom
much.
there. Do you
Yeah.
guys want to have her back? Because I would love to have Elizabeth back. First of all, thank you for sharing. I've been recently reminded that information without revelation or application is just things that you hear.
It's noise.
Is noise. And so I will say one thing that I'm taking from this conversation is just that the vocabulary, more awareness. I'm going to be a little bit kinder to myself, even as I prepare for these podcast episodes.
Yes.
And then just be more aware of that energy field you're mentioning, the energy that I'm bringing and the energy that I experience around others.
Yeah, and when we meet again, I'll tell you more about that energy field and why, as a leader, it's critical that you manage it.
Well, there's also one takeaway. I am grateful that most times when I encounter children, they run to me and not from me. I'm grateful for that. So I'm like, okay, kids like me. Okay, great.
That's a very good sign. Okay.
So, in speaking of burnout, how do we even start these habits that you're sharing with us today?
Yes, because as you said, what did you say? Knowledge without action. And we said is noise.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
We don't want to make a lot of noise. So habits are difficult to form oftentimes when we don't understand how they are formed. The brain is always assessing, am I safe? Back in the caveman days.
You're right.
Yes. Back in the caveman days, safe meant I have to go out and I have to find food for my family. Am I going to be mauled by a lion or tiger, or are other guys going to come and kill me and take the food for my family? Now we fast forward, hundreds and thousands of years forward, and safe for us might mean, am I safe when I go to work? Will people talk behind my back? Will my boss think I'm not capable? When I give that presentation, will people pick at me? Will people think I don't look good in my clothes when I do this podcast? Are they going to think, oh my God, look, she said that and she blooped or whatever? So when the brain is always assessing, am I safe? Why? Because the role of the brain is to reproduce and to keep us safe. In order to reproduce, we have to be safe. Safety, when we don't feel safe, it means we can't predict. We can't anticipate what's happening. We're not prepared.
That's right.
Right. Think about it.
when someone puts you on the spot in a meeting you're not prepared for,
How do you feel?
crazy.
Yes, because
I'm sweating
I wasn't
crazy.
prepared for this. This is why many people have a big fear of public speaking, because public means I don't know you generally. I don't know who you are. I don't know how you evaluate me. You see, the brain safety means certainty or predictability. This is why young children want you, and parents out there know this, want you to read the same book over and over again. You're like, if I read that book one more time, I'm going to go crazy.
That's because think about that.
Yes, that's because they know what's coming in the story. And it's like, especially if it's a good ending, of course. And it gives them this peace because they know what's coming and they can't wait. And so it feels safe. This is why putting a child on a structured schedule, even if they don't want to go to bed, and once you get them in their jammies and in there and after they're back, they feel safe or relaxed because it's a routine. It's predictable. And the brain goes, you're safe. We know what's going to happen and it's okay. So when you are starting a new behavior, I'm going to forward to that one. When you are starting a new behavior, the brain is going, what is this? Oh, I don't know. I don't like this. This is uncertain. I know sitting in front of that laptop and I just keep working. And I know if I keep doing this, I'm going to get it done and my boss is going to be happy and that's going to happen. And that's safe because we can predict it, right? Might be exhausted, tired, and irritable, but I know exactly. That's why they say misery loves company, or people that are grumpy and irritable stay grumpy and irritable because at least they know, right? They know what's going to happen. So when you're starting a new behavior, you have to help the brain assimilate. It's safe, Lacey. It's okay. So how do you do that? Also, you want to build what we call, the brain has synapses, meaning connections.
Right.
Where it links onto this and it links on the net and then it becomes a partner and it just kind of does things together. So in order to start a new behavior, you want to attach it to a current behavior that's already automatic. So let's say that I want to start exercising on a regular basis. And maybe I want to go and take a walk, for 15 minutes and then come back and do 10 push-ups. And then I'm going to do my ball exercise or something. Well, that's too much for the brain. That's overload. The first thing you want to do is attach that new behavior to one that's current. So let's say when you get up in the morning, what is a practice you do every morning?
Yeah, I'll go to the restroom.
Okay, so after you go to the restroom, then what do? You get dressed, or let's say you're going
to... Usually I'll put my robe on.
Okay.
And then I'll walk out and either grab my Bible study or go to get a tea.
Okay.
Some hot tea.
And so you're still in your robe. All right. So let's say the first day you say, after I do my Bible study, I will put on my gym shorts and t-shirt. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
But you're telling your brain, after I do Bible study, I will put on my shorts. We haven't even gotten you outside yet.
Okay.
So you say, and you can switch it up. So let's say you do your Bible study. You say, after I do my Bible study, I will put on my gym shorts and my t-shirt. And that's all you do for a couple of days. You're like, really, Elizabeth? That's stupid. That's silly. Well, the sillier it is, the better, because we don't want to overload your brain.
Okay.
So that's all you're going to do. Just change. You can change into your work clothes if you're just going to take a breeze around the block, right? So I'm going to change into my shirt. Then you do that for a couple days. And then and some people can switch and go forward to the next one. Now you say, let's say you've done that and that becomes a habit. You do it for about 7, 8, 10 days, whatever. That's all you do. And you're like, this is ridiculous. Then that means you're ready. All right. Now the brain is somewhat used to that.
Sure.
By the way, it takes about 60 plus repetitions for the brain to get a habit in its subconscious, and you never have to think about it anymore. Now, you've only done 7 or 8. However, if you started a trend, there's a part in the brain called the basal ganglia that is associated with repetition and patterns. So the brain, the basal ganglia, the second or third time you put those gym shorts on, the basal ganglia go, oh, I think she's going to put gym shorts on. I know what to do, right? And if you skip a day, your brain's going to go, and you go, let me put the gym shorts on. This is stupid. I'm put the... So now the next time you go, you put the gym shorts on, you say, I'm going to walk to the mailbox. I'm going to walk to the curb and back. Silly, but that's all you're going to do for a couple of days. And then you get out there and now you're used to it. And now you say, I'm going to walk to the end of the block. Here's the key. After I walk to the mailbox, I'm going to walk to the end of the block. Now, what are we telling the brain? The reason why it's very critical that you say this to the brain is that you're programming it.
Right.
You're programming it. Your brain is it's an organ. You filled it. Your parents have filled it. Your ancestors have filled it. Doesn't mean it's your truth. It's just what it's filled with. You're going to scrub it of some stuff that no longer serves you. You're going to put stuff in there that serves you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just reprogramming it. And now before you know it, you're going to be walking around the block because you're going to program your brain to say that. So let's say you're going to say, I'm going to walk around the block every other day, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. And let's say you do that for 7 or 8 weeks straight.
Mhm.
And then one day you don't do it. Let's say maybe 2 days you don't do it. First time you don't do it and you go in, your typical response would be to beat yourself up. Lacey, I can't believe you forgot that. Elizabeth
Mhm.
says it takes 60-something times to do that before it becomes subconscious and automatic. And now you just blew the numbers, right? Consecutively it takes. Here's the magic of the brain. Let's say you skipped a Wednesday and you know you did, but you had to rush off to work. Well, you just take a quick moment and you see yourself with your gym shorts on, walking around the block, and you say, Lacey, this is the way it went. And you saw yourself walking, you go, okay. And you shut the door and you go on. Your brain took it as a mark so you never lost the count, because the brain doesn't know if it's in the realm physically or in its head, because everything is perceived in your head. This is how athletes can accomplish major feats. And when they do that mind work and they hire coaches to help them see it, and they say, see yourself jumping over it. See it. I want you higher. You're going 2 inches higher. They're seeing themselves go 2 inches higher, and they get up there and they jump 2 inches higher. Because they're practicing. They still have to do the physical, but you're losing the momentum because the brain sees it and considers it the same as if you did in person. There have been studies after studies that have shown people that have done practice in their head what people practice physically, and they have either matched or outperformed because they did it more in their head. Now, I'm not saying you're going to lose weight if you don't walk and you just see yourself walking. Not going to happen.
I'm
Don't get
gonna
confused.
be in my head and lose weight.
But the goal is, and I'll send you a form. It's called the feedback loop. It also is about it's habit forming, and it's a form that I give you, and you're going to write down what it is you want. Everything I just walk you through.
Mhm.
You're going to write down what it is that you ultimately want to do, and you're going to break down the behaviors. Now, if you feel it's too silly to just put your shorts on and do nothing, then say, after coffee, I'm going to take a walk to the mailbox. I don't care if you do that first. Just come up with something absolutely ridiculous, and you attach it to that particular behavior. And then when you skip it, see yourself replaying it. And this is how you formulate the beginning. Now, the other way to do that that's more effective is to give yourself a reward, so you can switch it up. You have tea or coffee. You can say, so you put on your robe, go to the bathroom, you put on your robe, and you get your whatever. You can say, before I have my tea, I will walk to the mailbox. Now you just told your brain the reward is have my tea when I get to the mailbox. For example, I now drink a glass of water with lemon in the morning, and I love coffee. But I told my brain, before I have my coffee, I will drink my water, and I put lemon and something else in it. I will have my water and amla. And so I do that every morning faithfully, because then I get that cup of coffee, and that's my reward. And now it's a new habit.
I love that.
You like it?
I like
It's
it.
phenomenal.
I think
It's phenomenal.
there's definitely some gems that I'm walking away with, and I hope that you watching can see that habit stacking and that
That's it, habit stacking.
the habit stacking, and then the reward centered practices that Elizabeth mentioned. That is a great takeaway.
Oh yeah, when you know the brain is just this amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
And I love that you are bringing that brain and body work, just circling back to what you do at EJC Move, which I would love to share with them.
Yes.
The brain and body work and how you're empowering leaders to just bring their whole, what I would say is my version of what your mission statement is. I want you to do your mission statement, but it just seems like a more holistic approach to leadership.
It is, because, so the mission is really helping people to navigate the workplace with better calm and ease, so they can make better decisions and do what they were called to do.
I love that.
And so teaching them the brain-body connection, but now I've recently added brain-body-soul, because it's all one.
Some work.
And I tell people soul it's your heart, it's your inner self, it's your
Yes.
most self. And,
Mhm.
you know, 5 years ago, I couldn't use the word soul in companies. There's no way. 5 years ago, I couldn't take people into a room in an organization and have them lay on mats and do yoga and breathing deeply and all of this and talk about prayer, meditation, inhale. I couldn't do that. But
Mhm.
I think we're ready for it. Companies know they have to.
Sure.
People want it. People yearn for it. And so that's the shift in the work that I'm doing now.
And
that's my mode. That's my new mode.
I was just going to use your own words. I love this new mode.
That's
So
my new
if
mode.
anyone watching is in a space where they are a decision maker, they're looking for this type of work, this mindfulness, apply this new leadership modality. How can they connect with you, Elizabeth?
So we have EJC Move is our website. We're on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, EJC Move, Facebook, and then YouTube. We're in the midst of, we've got some stuff up in YouTube, but we're launching a pretty major platform on YouTube around wellness and mental and physical health in the workplace. So stay tuned for more of that.
I love that. I'm following it right now. Well, thank you again for being here. Thank you for sharing your light, your wisdom, your story here with us on the podcast. I'm so grateful for you. I gotta give you a big hug.
You know, that's ironic.
Taking
I was
it away.
just saying to myself, I gotta hug her.
I'm gonna just put it out there. Let's bring you back for part 2.
Yes, we will. And I'm going to invite you to mine.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of today's
pleasure.
conversation.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for your time, for your impartation, and for your joy that you shared with us today. Thank you again also for watching this episode of the Joyfully Free Journey podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Did you hear those gems that Elizabeth was dropping? Wow. I think for part of that interview, I was just so blown away by the knowledge and how quickly it was coming. I just had to be quiet. There were so many great takeaways from this conversation. If you want to hear more of the work that Elizabeth is doing, I encourage you to visit her online on her website, ejcmove.com, as well as her socials. I'm already subscribed. I'm bought in. Can't wait for more mind, body, and soul connection in the content that she's producing moving forward. As I mentioned in our conversation together, burnout is not always linear. It's not something that we go through one time and we may not encounter it again. As you saw in Elizabeth's discussion with us, she has experienced this in multiple different stages of her. It manifested in different ways, and she learned different things with each of her encounters with burnout. And so I want to encourage you today that if you find yourself in a moment of burnout, just know that it is just a moment in your journey. And as always, if you're interested in having additional tools and resources in your tool belt as you navigate your life towards joy and authentic freedom, I would love to partner with you. Check out my complimentary exploratory coaching call, and I would love to book some time with you so that we can talk about your journey and see how we might partner together to help get you to that place of joy and freedom. This is my passion, and I would love to continue going on this journey with me. So be sure to like, subscribe, share with me in the comments what you're learning. Give me some feedback on what else you'd like to hear on the podcast. And until next time, be sure that you pursue the things that bring you joy with boldness and live authentically free. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
I am joyfully free.